Welcome back, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer, so now let's talk silver. Folks, a lot has been happening over the last day. If you guys don't know, some things are happening with the FOMC, the Federal Reserve, and we're going to talk about it all and what this means for silver in the near term. In the short term, we have a lot of forecasts I'm going to be showing. We have this forecast looks to rally into the FOMC. Fed rates decision impacts gold, silver, and Canadian dollar ahead of the policy meeting. And we have this one, which is how silver is plotting carefully ahead of the Fed verdict. If you look at silver's price, this is the today chart, by the way. This isn't a 1 month or 1 week chart. This is what silver did just today, within 24 hours. Check this out. It was at $23.50 around there, and all of a sudden, it shot up to, what is that number? $24.12 before just shooting right back down. What happened right there? We're going to find out. So, as you can see, there's a lot of volatility there, and that's going to continue. I mean, silver is a much more volatile market than gold. I call it gold on steroids. It's very extreme. And that's a lot of opportunity, but a lot of risk as well. So I wanted to mention that I'm always going to be giving you guys the newest, latest, freshest, most up-to-date, recent information in the world of precious metals, more specifically silver. So you got to be subscribed. Imagine someone who's just blindly, aimlessly investing into silver, having no clue what's happening in the markets, just living in the dark, but randomly buy silver here and there. Has no idea. Compared to someone else who is staying up to date every single day. Even if you don't watch every single video, at least you're subscribed to a channel like mine, or mine, or at least like mine, is giving you guys daily updates and getting into the meat and potatoes of what silver's doing on that specific day. See, that's the difference between gambling. Gamblers throw money at the wall, hope it sticks with the odds highly against them. Investors tweak those odds in our favor. See, investors make strategic decisions based off information. That information we will take and tweak it and use it to our advantage because we're strategizing what works best. It's a silver stacking strategy. Gamblers, they just go off plain hope, and the odds are highly against them. That's the difference between us and someone who plays the Powerball every day or scratch-offs, lottery tickets, That is so important to realize. It's a silver stacking strategy, and that's why you got to subscribe to channels like mine so you're always up to date with this crucial information. So what is going on? Silver prices are plotting carefully ahead of the Fed verdict. Silver spot values reflect caution. All eyes are on the Federal Reserve's imminent policy direction amid rate hike whispers. So here's some of the highlights. Market closely watches silver as a gauge of anticipation for Fed's next move. The 10-year U.S. Treasury yield reaches a near 16-year high ahead of Fed's September meet. Also, the dollar's strength highlights anticipation of hawkish Fed decision. So let's start with this first one, which is the Federal Reserve's anticipated decision and silver's response. So silver cautiously moved on Wednesday, which mirrors the market's broader sentiment as everyone keenly awaits the Federal Reserve's policy directive. And that is, this happens a lot. People start speculating on what the Federal Reserve, Federal Chairman Jerome Powell is going to come out and say, the rate hike, or they're going to, everyone that is investing, not even in just silver, but specifically, or I would say more importantly, silver or precious metals at that, since the dollar and silver are a direct threat to each other. When the dollar index is high, gold and silver is low, and vice versa. So silver stackers watch very closely to what the FOMC meetings are saying. Or even before the meeting happens, they will anticipate, they will speculate, they will guess what Federal Chairman Jerome Powell is going to come out and say without even knowing. It's all pure speculation. It's assumption. And a lot of it is is coming from the wrong place. A lot of people are theorizing out of fear, conspiracy, catastrophic, or catastrophizing the situation, always thinking the worst but hoping for the best, or it's not relevant, because even when Federal Chairman Jerome Powell comes out and says this many basis points or whatever, that's their speculation as well. They say we hope to, or we aim to reach yada yada by 2024. So that's all speculation as well. It's all based off of assumptions, and those numbers are never accurate. So you got to remember that stuff, folks. So anyways, although the current consensus leans towards the Fed maintaining its existing interest rates, whispers of upcoming rate hikes later in the year are growing louder, right? Whispers. Who knows, though? And plus, by the end of the year, who knows what the economy is going to be like? So much happens on a nowadays on a week-to-week basis. Imagine in 3 months from now, how much different things are going to be, worldwide, yet alone just the Federal Reserve. So economic indicators and market behavior. U.S. Treasury yields, particularly the 10-year yield, have surged to heights not witnessed in nearly 16 years. This is primarily in response to the imminent updates from the Federal Reserve September Assembly. Simultaneously, the U.S. dollar stands resilient. The dollar index, benchmarked against a diversified basket of currencies, hovered around 105.13, underscoring the market's eager anticipation of the Fed's resolution. The prevalent market prediction, backed by the CME FedWatch tool, posits that the Fed will maintain the status quo on rates set between 5.25% and 5.50%. However, there's a simmering speculation. See, the reason I hate this S word is it's okay to speculate, but not in the world of precious metals. Why? Because it is a tangible asset. It's physical. It should be based off the fundamentals of supply and demand. Supply and demand. How much comes out of the Earth's crust and what the demand is. Low supply, high demand pushes the price up. That's investing 101, but then when you incorporate manipulation, when you incorporate that whole side of things, you see how things can get a little muddy, how things can get a little messy. But as Ted Butler even mentioned before, he made a brilliant case about this. I should probably make a video and cover that article he wrote about manipulation and how eventually no amount of money thrown in the other direction, or no force can stop the inevitable act of silver's rise, because everything pushes and pulls silver to different percentages. And when you look at the drastically low supply and the drastically rising demand, you can't stop that type of power. Everything affects silver to some degree. Maybe stock market volatility is 5%, maybe gold is 20%, maybe the dollar index is 30%, yada yada, But the fundamentals should always outweigh any type of manipulation. Not always, but to the extreme of the silver shortage, the supply deficit, which we already broke records this year, that's definitely realistic. If silver wasn't scarce, I would definitely not be making this argument, but since it is and the numbers don't add up, I am. And same with Ted Butler as well. So anyways, inflation, oil prices, and their bearing on silver. The economic landscape further muddies with Treasury yields sustaining their elevated trajectory. Such behavior is emblematic of a market gearing up for a hawkish hold stance by the Fed. Further layers of complexity are added by Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and her remarks on aligning U.S. growth rates with ideal rates to meet inflationary targets. Concurrently, skyrocketing oil prices indicate prolonged periods of heightened rates, potentially suppressing silver's allure. Market speculation and the path forward. The silver market, much like other commodities, hinges on the upcoming Federal Reserve's meeting. The central question: will there be any interest rate adjustments? The broader financial sector, bolstered by insights from CME's FedWatch tool, overwhelmingly expects unchanged rates posting this meeting, which yields a 35% belief in another rate increment before 2024 concludes. The pivotal element in this unfolding drama will be Federal Chairman Jerome Powell's commentary, potentially shedding light on the bank's future game plan. However, there remains an ambient uncertainty about the post-meeting trajectory of monetary policy. Ambient uncertainty. The key? Gleaning insights from the Fed's disclosures in the subsequent press briefing. Additionally, past data and statements suggest the possibility of further rate hikes contingent on economic indicators. I mean, it's all speculation, right? Suggest the possibility. It's all speculation. So here is the short-term forecast. In essence, scales tips toward the Fed persisting in its hawkish stance, striving to pull inflation closer to the 2% mark, development that might not bode well for silver. Meanwhile, upcoming meetings at international central banks such as the Bank of Japan and Bank of England are poised to further influence silver's short-term journey. So I'm going to skip over a little bit of this article and highlight the main points they mentioned that stand out from the past article. I don't want to just reiterate the same points about rate hikes and all that. I like to, shed some different perspectives. And this one is talking about being prudent and patient. So interest rates exert their influence on the silver market, but it's essential to recognize that silver has been consolidating within a reasonably well-defined range since May. Consequently, this range is expected to continue influencing the market, at least in the intermediate term. Remember, folks, all these articles were posted today. This stuff is fresh off the press. So, presently, the preference leans towards adopting a buying strategy rather than selling. However, it's essential to understand that this market is not poised for a sudden takeoff. Instead, it's likely to involve a gradual ascent characterized by periods of incremental movement, as it should. You don't want silver to just skyrocket overnight because it won't last at that price. The price needs to stabilize. If it reaches $50 next week, it would crash because there's no stability there. It's overbought territory, and then it corrects and it hits back down where it started, or maybe even lower. But if it goes up a little bit and down a little bit in a slow ascent, that's where prices will stand, and that's where it's more realistic for silver to hit $50 and stay in that range, not just a quick opportunity to capitalize, but rather stay at those higher highs. So I'm glad they mentioned that. And I'm also glad that they mentioned how this is more of a buying strategy rather than selling. So given this outlook, closely monitoring position sizes of paramount importance as reoccurring volatility is anticipated. Furthermore, it is noteworthy that silver currently positions itself closer to the lower end of its range than upper. This suggests a certain level of demand in the market, reinforcing the idea that buying opportunities may carry more favor than selling ones at this juncture, which is very interesting. As the silver market navigates its intricacies, prudent and patient approach remains integral to seizing potential opportunities. Regardless of the direction you choose, exercise caution and avoid overextending your position, even though we currently find ourselves closer to the range of silver's lower boundary. They're saying, this is more than likely the bottom, and we'll see a slow ascent upwards, so you can capitalize off this. But be careful. Markets are extremely volatile. We also don't know. There's so many unknown variables. That's the main point. If you're someone who isn't looking to sell in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, then it really doesn't matter. But if you're someone who maybe trades, marginal trading, or someone who is maybe flipping this stuff and then reinvesting some into whatever gold or stocks or cryptocurrency, you do have to be a lot more careful. See, us core silver stackers, there's no risk, really. There really isn't. But they call silver the devil's metal for a reason. I call it gold on steroids for a reason. Steroids still had negative side effects. That's why I use the word steroids. I've seen other people use steroids, but they're not looking at it the way I first mentioned, which was steroids are great if you're trying to get buff, but when you stop taking them, what happens? And what happens to your body? Exactly. Silver is gold on steroids. It hits higher highs, but also lower lows. You have to be careful. It's more volatile, more risk, but also more reward. That's why it's gold on steroids. That is why. And most people that say silver is gold on steroids don't understand the second half of that saying and what it means. But anyways, let's keep moving on. This is another article that came out today, September 20th, 2023. How the Fed's rate decision impacts gold, silver, and Canadian dollar ahead of the policy meeting. So, looking at the financial market's attention is firmly on the upcoming Federal Reserve's policy meeting with its potential implications for gold prices, silver, and the Canadian dollar as per CME's FedWatch tool. And this is anticipating that the Fed will maintain current interest rates with a 1 in 3 chance of another rate hike before 2024 ends. 1 in 3 chance. I mean, what kind of statement is that? 1 in 3 chance. But that's just right now, currently where things stand. But what happens if the war escalates in the next month or so? Or what happens if, there's so many unknown variables. And now we're circling back to that word unknown variable that I mentioned a couple minutes ago, is that a wrench could get thrown in and throw everything off. Do you think all the forecasts in 2019, at the end of 2019, could have predicted COVID? No. Do you even remember what was happening right before COVID hit? I'm sure it was the U.S.-China trade wars. Do you remember that? It was Saudi Arabian oil fields getting attacked, Iran tensions, and the U.S.-China trade wars, the negotiations, and then bam, COVID hit, and nobody remembered those 3 very important things that were happening right before COVID. A wrench gets thrown in, changes the market, so you have to take speculation with a grain of salt. It's like the weatherman. Things happen. Wind changes directions. Cloud, you can't go off of this and put all your money on this, pun intended, as this is what they're saying is going to happen. And that, I think, is one of the biggest problems with investors is they feel like they know the answer. They go with their gut, or they have this sense of entitlement as if, like, I know the truth, or biasly going off of irrational decisions, which is extremely dangerous. That's why I always say invest with your head, not your heart. Invest with your head, not your heart. Thinking you're different or thinking that you know it all is only going to hurt you in the end. You have to look at this realistically, and that's why impulse buying and panic selling is so high of if you look at the average investor, they're not going to make money on silver. Most people lose money trying to get into silver because they get into it for the wrong reasons. They think it's a get-rich-quick scheme. They have weak hands. They don't understand silver's true value. They don't understand the dollar's true value, and they're in way over their heads. They buy in when all the hype is up. They buy high and then sell low. They buy high and sell low. A lot of people bought while silver was $30 during the Wall Street silver movement. The highest price silver's been since 2011, more than a decade ago. They hop on the silver bandwagon, and then soon as that hype ends, or as soon as it corrects, that overbought territory goes into a correction phase and reverts back down to $24, all those people end up panic selling, thinking, oh, I made a mistake. Silver's going down. My investment's already in the red. I bought at $30. Now it's down to $24. What am I doing? Then they sell when they could have just held on. You see why you need to understand what you're getting into before you get into it. And that's not just with silver. That's with anything. You have to understand. So anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up here. I've been talking for a while. I'm going to shut up. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you thought it was educational, informational, at least entertaining, make sure to hit that like button and make sure you subscribe. If you want a chance to win some silver, I'm doing a giveaway. Links in the description or the pinned comment. If you wanted to purchase some silver, I recommend Miles Franklin. Just send an email to info@milesfranklin.com. Let them know Silver Slayer sent you. It's a great company, great prices, great people there. Andy Schechtman's the CEO. He will hook you up, especially if you say my name. He'll hook you up. It's great to build a business relationship with them, especially since they're one of the only few authorized dealers that still can work with the U.S. Mint. That speaks for itself, how legitimate they are. Info@milesfranklin.com. Let them know I sent you. Ask for a price list. Ask for any deals or discounts going on right now. They will hook you up. You could buy $10 worth of silver. You could buy $10 billion worth of silver. Andy will pull it off. That's actually the company that filled the largest silver purchase ever. $50 million worth of silver. Andy Schechtman, she bought that lady, that billionaire from Texas, bought all that from Miles Franklin. She trusted $50 million with Miles Franklin, not anyone else, because of the reputation. And Andy filled that order in 2 days. 900,000 eagles, over 100,000 ounces in junk and gold. Do you think, that speaks for itself as well. Nobody else can pull off that much silver. Nobody can. But Andy has the connections, and, he's the guy right now. You see him everywhere, off Kitco News and everywhere. He's the guy. And I'm offering you guys to have a relationship with him. And if something were to happen, if something went bad, just send me an email and I'll call him up on my cell phone and make sure it gets figured out and make sure it gets right. You can't really do that anywhere else because you don't know the CEO, or you don't have a personal relationship or a personal, connection through them. It's just a person behind the screen that doesn't care about you and you don't even know who they are. But with Miles Franklin, you do. And that's an honor to be able to offer you guys that. So anyways, me and Andy are actually shooting an episode tomorrow. So I'll try to have it up by tomorrow night, maybe the next day, but stay tuned for that as well. Thanks for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.